Sì, ya acá no tuve problema.
I want to come to you because you came to cycling. I wonder if cycling has a particular problem. So much tradition that the side of the sport. So to accept women. An important part of the equation. So when you take sports within cycling like BMX or cyclocross or even mountain biking, those are much newer than road cycling and track cycling, which are just steeped in this history of male dominance. So that does show that sometimes traditionalism is really part of the problem, and the roles of leadership get passed down from man to man to man, and they just look at this like, oh, this is the way we've always done it. So, if we haven't had women part of the equation yet, then why should we add them? That's usually what we're up against in terms of the traditionalism side.
There is that old chestnut that women don't have the same strength or endurance power as men. What are you to that?
To that I say hogwash. But I will say this too. We have to look at the physiology part of the equation, right? Men are often much better sprinters, for example, in the role of endurance sports. Women are actually physiologically better suited to endurance. When a race is elongated in terms of distance, the gap narrows between men's and women's finishing time. We can see that in marathon running or ultra distance. So this argument really truly is hogwash that men are stronger and better suited toward any possible event. It's not true. Women are amazing contenders, and especially in the realm of endurance sports.
Asha, more broadly speaking, what are the barriers that female footballers face in Pakistan?
Pakistan is a conservative country. It's an Islamic state, and women, of course, for 10 years from now, were absolutely looked down upon. And now that I've been a pioneer of women's football in Pakistan, I've seen acceptance. But when I got into the sport, I had no idea, firstly, that football existed. Because I used to be a track and field athlete, I used to do half marathons and stuff. When I got in, I realized that women have to go through so much to be able to play football out in a field. My immediate family supported me throughout, my parents, my siblings. But when my extended family found out, they did not have good things to say about me and about the fact that my parents were actually letting me play. My dad stood by my side because, I had been athletic ever since growing up. But it went to a point that my extended family did not speak with my parents and my family for like 4 years because they thought that the family's name and dignity was going to go down the drain, and it's not how women do it in this family or in this country. It's just absolutely bonkers. And now that they see that I've become the captain and I'm playing abroad, and now they just want to talk highly of me. So that's like starting from home. So that's the first barrier that I had to face. My own family had issues. And then when I step out on the field, first because you have to wear shorts. You need to dress appropriately for specific sports. But there were girls who would play in pants and like trousers, and they were very uncomfortable. And all because there were men or other girls who would say, our religion does not allow it, our country is very conservative. People would say that you're some alien, or, they would make comments as if they didn't recognize your nationality as theirs?
Oh, some incredibly difficult. Of course, bear a reminder that you're listening to the conversation, and today we're talking about what can be done to make women's sport more equal, to close not only the wage gap, but also the lack of media coverage. My guest is a footballer at retirement, a retired pro cyclist, Catherine Bertin. I'd like to move on and talk about campaigning for change, how both of you have been campaigning for change. Now, Catherine, you joined forces with other pro cyclists, big names, and you formed the Tour Entier to campaign for a women's version of the Tour de France. Why did you do this?
So before I joined up and formed a group with Emma Pooley and Marianne Voss and Chrissy Wellington, for about 4 years before that, I was the one trying to email the race directors and the UCI to make change happen. And nobody was listening to me. Just one voice out there. I was not a world champion at that time, but when I combined that effort with others, my compatriots had incredible exposure, and together we can drive that change home. So that's what we did in forming the Tour Entier to petition for equality at the Tour de France. That's when people started listening to us, when we were a group.
Could you explain to us, Catherine, what Le Tour Entier is?
Yes, so the term is French, and it means the whole tour. And that's when we were lobbying ASO, which is Amaury Sports Organization, and they are the directors of the Tour de France.
The Tour de France, that's one of the most prestigious cycling competitions.
Right. We were targeting them specifically to finally include women. There had been women at the Tour de France, first of all, in the mid-50s, and then again in the 80s, from 84 to 89. Women did have a 3-week stage race, just like the men. So what happened was in 1989, the Tour de France brokered the TV rights and the TV coverage of the race specifically to the men's field, and they did away with the women's field. Somebody, whether it was history or traditionalism or one specific person, we'll never know, but somebody basically said, okay, we'll get rid of the women's race.
You must have been absolutely delighted when, in 2014, a women's race was added. Did that change? What went wrong?
Yes, the conundrum of progress. So we fought very, very hard for a 3-week inclusion, just like the men. We also understood that potentially the first year of 3 weeks would be very hard on the budget of the women's team to be able to sustain that. So when we gained access to sit down and talk with them about this, we said, what you need to do, if you're not going to do 3 weeks immediately the first year, you have to build incremental stages. Maybe the first year it's 3 days, maybe the next year it's 5, then 7, then 10, then 15. So you have a plan in progress where every year it's added incrementally until we get to 3 weeks. And we were thrilled in 2014 when ASO agreed to 1 day. The women would race 1 day on the Champs-Élysées, almost like a starter. And we were thrilled. We had our foot in the door, and when the ratings came in that first day, and I feel so lucky and honored to have been part of that race, and the ratings were phenomenal. It was broadcast in over 120 countries on 50-something different networks, and the world responded, right? Then we assumed that for 2015, they would add more days. They reinstated the race again as 1 day. In 2017, we all crossed our fingers and hoped that finally 4, 5, 6 days would be added. No. What they did in 2017, they moved the race from the Champs-Élysées to a mountain stage.
But Catherine, listening to you talk,